Hello, KrallCon 2016. I'm Ashley Diosis.
And I'm K.A. Opperman.
And we're here to read you some awesome poetry. My first poem is called Carathis. And it was on Ellen Datlow's recommended reading list for Volume 7. Carathis. Her skin of burnished bronze, so silken to the touch. Her hair black as midnight, wafting scents of such intoxicating aphrodisiacs, and her enticing eyes of hazel that made weak hearts stir, belonged to the dark sorceress of high Samara. Fools only would court this dark queen whose mouth is Mara. Her heart was iced within a cage of blackened bone. Carathis was her name, and she would rule alone. Inside the high witch tower of her dark delights, she decked her walls with hanging bodies all alight. Her floors were red, her followers were all deaf mutes, and mummies who attended to a bruise of newts, emitting fumes of mummies and the blazing flames, frequently filled her working space as, without shame, she practiced rituals with offerings spread out. Her tainted mind had found for certain, without doubt, an entrance to the palace of subterranean fire, a place of treasures and rare knowledge to desire. Such sacrifices of serpents and scorpions soon insufficient grew, and fresh new champions were needed to appease her gods of pain and death. Servants, friends, children were the same for every breath, could easily be stilled for passage down below. Reciting savage incantations soon let go her earthly limits, and she entered down with bliss into the palace where awaiting was Iblis. He greeted her as newly hired within his ranks, and offered food and wine which eagerly she drank. He gave free range of his grand palace, and she soon surveyed every dark corridor. How she did swoon when finally she came upon her long-sought prize, the talismans of Solomon that held the skies, and conquered all beneath them, quickly grabbing one. Her heart burst into flames with a heat like the sun. Explosive cachinnation pierced the many halls, as her shrill screams forever echoed in his walls. And this is from Spectral Realms #1 by Hippocampus Press.
Excellent. Well done. Now I would like to read you a poem called In Fits of Wildest Dreaming from Spectral Realms 3. And it's currently a Riesling nominated poem. In Fits of Wildest Dreaming. Here we go. In fits of wildest dreaming, when demons all were teeming and scheming to conquer midnight's throne, I tossed in deepest slumber through nightmares without number to cumber the moor with awful groan. My bed of silken scarlet, a harpy-winged harlot, a starlet from courts of white Selene, seemed hellishly to hover about me like a lover, and cover with kisses so obscene my body helpless sleeping. It seemed that she was reaping and keeping my soul with every kiss. The succubus embraced me, and ghostly beauty faced me to taste me and let me dream of bliss. But there was scarce of pleasure no amorous red measure to treasure within my poisoned pulse. Her restless woes and worries swirled round me like a lemuries or flurries of leaves that soon convulse, and graying autumn grasses, as pensively there passes of lasses the saddest of them all, poor Vespertina's spectre, when purple dusk has decked her nectar gone all to bitter gall. And all the ghouls were howling, the moonlit tombs befouling, and owling made much of mournful moan, when I was wildly dreaming, and demons all were teeming and scheming to conquer midnight's throne.
Very good. The next poem is called Winter Witch, and it's in Winter Horror Days. Winter Witch. In crystal towers lit by silver moons, the Winter Witch invokes the Holly King. Into the world she casts with ancient runes, a velvet darkness from which he will spring. She shuns the sun the Oak King conjures now, and exiles him to the abyss beyond. She bleeds the flesh of her silk wrist in vow, to fell the sun above and seal the bond.
Excellent. Now, I would like to read Among the Gargoyles from Spectral Realms number 4. I have seen what these gargoyles have gazed on from their perilous perches of stone. I have known what it is to grow crazed on the mauve mist in the moonlight alone. And high loneliness, too, I have known. I have met the mad stare of Polaris, with white eyes just as cold and as hard. On this ancient cathedral of Paris, most grotesque I am ever its guard, a mere ghoul irreversibly marred. I have watched from the shadows as women in white gowns have considered the ledge. I have felt heart and soul start to dimmen, as averting my visage I pledge, not to startle them over the edge. In my dreams to the moon I have traveled, on such wings as not wakened by day, but the vision is ever unraveled by these gargoyles, these lords of dismay, whose grey wings are but anchors to stay.
Very good. The next poem is from the Novice, and it is called Medusa's Mirror. Ophidian locks coiled round her pretty head, despairing softly they hissed in her ears. Medusa stood, her heart all full of dread, in front of her cracked mirror, full of tears. Her veil fluttered gently from the gusts, forever flowing through her darksome cave. She heard more men with spears designed to thrust, and to thrust true to send her to her grave. The warriors of the gods sought her cursed eyes, but she would not be weak to gods or men. With a shrill hiss she tore her veil ties. It drifted to the floor of her old den. She, clad in marble, watched with a blind stare, when the men failed and left her cold, dead lair.
Well done. Well done. I'm now going to read a poem from my book, The Crimson Tome, published by Hippocampus Press. I'm going to read one called Ashiel's Prisoner. It's a little bit spicy, so get ready. So many moons I spent pinned down beneath her breasts, shackled to crimson sheets and drunk with meath, a helpless slave to her perverse behests. Her lustful thighs a vice were unto mine, her lips panted hot pleasures from their scarlet scrine, and demon moans of passionate eclipse, and cataracts of raven wildly fair her hair, down ivory curves kissed as with fires of hell, shining in torchlight, squirming, burning, bare. Without the window's arch the stars scarce matched her eyes, an icy shine through half-closed lids they watched, with languid lust her prisoner, her prize. And after hours of fire I lay within her arms, in mockery of romance scorched with sin, trapped by the bedpost Teraphim's dark charms. Then I was left with but the ghost of her perfume, and petals plucked from nightshade to endure, till Ashiel again would grace my gloom.
Very good. My last poem is called Painted in Blood, and it is published in Sanitarium. There we go. Painted in Blood. The Countess had a corpse from every home, in her high court of maiden blood and bone. The freshest flower spurts the sweetest foam. She savored every drop and every moan. No courtly daughter or shy peasant maid escaped her deadly pleasures and her ploys. Their every scream was music to be swayed. From their cracked lips their bodies were her toys. She combed her hair with shards of pallid teeth, and washed away with tortured tears the mud. She dressed in crimson robes, and yet beneath, her marble skin was painted red with blood.
Wonderful. Well done. And that's the end of our poetic presentation.
Thanks for having us. Bye, KrallCon.